Welcome to the video YouTube. Thanks for joining me today. We are joined by a member of the Elite Academy in this video who has just launched their first product on Amazon, and they're going to be sharing their experience with you, letting you know how they've gotten on. Their first month has been pretty insane. First 30 days, we'll be looking at their sales, their profits, and how they did it. Right? What strategies did they implement themselves to get to the 5-figure mark at the end of month 1. So I hope you guys get a lot of value from the video. A lot of effort's gone into it. Please comment below, like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Right guys, so we are here with a member of the Elite Academy. She's been kind enough to come on to the channel to share her experience with you. So many of you who are watching the video, right, we know you probably want to start selling on Amazon. You want some insight into how people are getting on, especially throughout the pandemic. It's been a crazy 2 years, almost 2 years. We were saying it feels like 2 years, but people are starting online businesses, and it's awesome to be able to share with you how members are getting on with their FBA businesses. So thanks for coming on. We're gonna add tons of value for everyone. Yeah, we're gonna have so much information for you guys, and I hope it's of use. I'm sure it will be. But we'll start off with a brief introduction, I suppose, and we'll go from there.
So hi, my name's Rupal. I'm based in Hertfordshire, and I've been selling officially on Amazon now for about just over a month and a half now.
Month and a half. And has it felt like a month? Has it gone like that, or has it been a long process? How have you got on with your first month?
It has gone just like that, because I feel like there's been so much work leading up to this point, and it almost feels odd now because I make more money now, but I'm not really doing very much towards it. So I guess you feel like you've been working so hard for such a long time, but now it's just, you just refresh your Amazon app and it's like, oh, there you go. Someone else bought the product.
Have you got your Amazon app with you? I didn't ask you that. Have you got your
Oh
phone?
yeah, I do. Yeah.
Do you want to give it a swipe down just to show people what it looks like? A lot of people ask me what it looks like on your phone. You can have an app where you can check your sales. I advise not to do it too much, because my first month or two selling on Amazon, my thumb was ruined. Hold it a little bit closer. It should if you go right up, it should focus. Oh, there we are. So go onto your home one. It did focus then. There we are. So a bit more. Yeah, 10.24. That's it. 10.24K. So that's month 1. So how did you hear about Amazon FBA, right? Let's rewind a little bit back to the start. Where did you hear about it, and what got you started and inspired to give it a go?
So I've definitely always wanted to have my own business, but for me, I've got 2 little ones, so trying to manage the time of making sure that I'm giving them my time, but doing a home business or an online business, I always felt like that would be so great, because I'm a healthcare professional. I do love my job, but the issue is, in order for me to make money, I have to leave my kids, I have to leave my family, and I have to go to work to do that. So I've always wanted a business or something that I could do from home. You know, I'd see these people that are Forex traders or things like that, and I'd be, oh my God, that's so amazing. They can make money, they can go on holiday, as long as they've got a laptop with them and internet connection, they can make money. So it was actually just a YouTube video that I just come across once on YouTube. It wasn't one of your videos. I think it was someone just from America, and it just kept coming up on my YouTube. So I don't know if there was something else I was watching.
It's retargeting probably.
Yeah. It was like, what is FBA? And I just thought, oh, it keeps coming up. Let me just click on it. And then this guy was just explaining how you find a product. I think back then that was different, but now obviously it's very important to build a brand. But back then he was just talking about how you find a product, you develop a product, you source it from Alibaba, and then you ship that to Amazon, and then Amazon is what sends that to all your customers. And I thought, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So you develop a product, and then after you've done all that hard work, then Amazon will look after it for you. And I thought, that's quite interesting. And then I looked into it more and more. I watched lots of videos.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was like, this Dylan guy that keeps coming up. And then I went for your course.
Awesome. And I think it's that sort of concept, isn't it? It baffles people that, and it's one of the things that it does make it seem too good to be true. The fact that that it's automated in the large part, right? To a great extent. Once you've actually launched, like now, for example, how would you say the balance is now with the hours that you put in every week now compared to when you were watching videos and when you got started? I guess, and there's quite a contrast between the two.
Oh yeah, it's very different now. I guess this is what people call a passive income now, because at some point there was a point where it was like I was running 100 miles an hour, and also when you're sourcing a product in particular, you can only speak to people from China late in the evening or very early in the morning. So it was just like go, 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 go. And with my 2 little ones, you can imagine trying to get them ready for school or whatnot. Meanwhile, you're messaging someone in China trying to get everything ready. So at that point, it was a lot of hard work. But now it's almost just unreal. Like, you just check and it's like, oh, someone's been buying the product. Sometimes I even forget. And then I check after a few hours, and I'm just like, oh, that's quite
wow, I sold like 5 units. And you said the first one, the feeling's great. And when you have that first sale and you think, wow, some actual real person has purchased what I've created.
My product and they bought it, yeah.
Yeah, it's an exciting thing when you get your first sale. Pretty much, I would say that's one of the highlights of it for me, was just seeing that first sale on the first day. And so this is your first 30 days, to clarify for people. So you're not 8 months in, a year in. This is literally day 33 or something. You're on now. You're a complete newbie. Well, you wouldn't think so from how you've gotten on. You've done extremely well. And with regard to product research, there's a lot of people will be watching the video and they think to themselves, how am I ever going to find anything to sell? And how do I know it will sell? And a lot of people think, especially people who haven't maybe looked into it a lot, is that there's a lot of guesswork, and you don't necessarily know how products are doing. Say, for example, I was going to launch a pair of headphones or a headset. You just kind of think, oh, this must sell well, and they launch it. When in reality, we tend to use software and make data-driven decisions, don't we, when we're choosing? And what did you validate your product with? Did you use any software to find your product?
I think the main two that everyone uses is Jungle Scout and Helium 10. I've never actually used Jungle Scout. I only used Helium 10.
Yeah.
And then when I first was looking for a product, there were certain parameters that I looked for, like I wanted it to make X amount of revenue and have this many reviews and things like that. But what I found is I found a product with that, and then I looked into. Then if you use just Amazon by itself, then using that, it's like, I think people call it like the rabbit hole approach, where you find that product and then that leads you to another one and to another one and to another one. And that's actually eventually how I found the product that I wanted to go into. Okay.
And did you explain, for people who are completely new, how does Helium 10 work? I mean, how do you find products using Helium 10? How do you know how much revenue they're doing and things like that?
Yeah. So, something that I would do is, if I found a product on Amazon and I was like, okay, this is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And looking at the reviews, and sometimes you feel like you can look at the market and you can see, I think there's a gap in this market. I could definitely make something better. And then you can use, it's called X-ray, isn't it?
Yeah, X-ray, that's the one. Yeah.
And in that way, you can see how many sales they're actually doing per month and how much revenue they're making. And also, when you're going to look at a product, you want to make sure it's not just one person that's making all the money. One person might be making the most money, but there might be a few other people that are also making quite good revenue for that same niche, basically.
Yeah, a bit more of a spread of revenue of private label sellers on that first page for your search term. And like you said, so literally, guys, we look on Amazon's website, and this Helium 10 drops a table down over the listings or the products that you're looking at, and it will populate lots of different pieces of information. So how many sales it's doing every month, the revenue it's doing every month, and we use that information then to help us make a decision. Not just that, but that's that we use. So Helium 10 is what you'd recommend. I personally, I was the same. I used Helium 10. I think there's been a bit of a shift over in the last year or so, especially with all of the work they've done. You mentioned the podcasts. You watch a lot of their podcasts. Shout out to Helium 10. I'm a big fan. I like the Bradley. They're a great company. And So you started with helium-10, and what were you looking for? I mean, did you go in with something, an idea? Did you think, this is the product I want to launch, and I'm going to go and validate it with helium-10, or did you go and search with absolutely no clue what you were looking for?
I think I had an idea in mind of what I wanted to go into, something that I believed in.
Yeah.
So, because for me, it was really important to build a brand.
Yeah.
And even going forward, so really what my goal would be is to have a product and a brand that I can use Amazon's platform to leverage, and that's going to help start off the brand.
Yeah.
But really my goal would be eventually, if I've developed a really good product and people like this, almost you can kind of use Amazon as a testing platform as well, can't you?
Absolutely.
Because, if you've got good reviews that people really like this, and then eventually then I could maybe sell it in lots of other marketplaces if I wanted to as well.
Yeah.
But
and you mentioned as well, you're saying, I know, it's so, when you go off, or when we start talking, you start to think, what would you actually ask me in the first place? What was I actually talking about initially? Now, I was saying, you were mentioning that, it's important to build a brand, and that, and you mentioned when we had a chat before we hopped on, that your product is environmentally friendly, right? And that was a core sort of ethos of your business, and that was something you held close to your heart, and you wanted to make sure that you implemented that. Did that affect your margins? Was it harder to find a product that fitted that criteria, or was it more easier than you thought?
Actually, it did make it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Because I guess it depends what you want to go into, but it made it a little bit harder because whilst I was doing my research, there were lots of other products which were probably more profitable than what I went into, and also they were making more revenue back then when I was checking a year ago. I mean, now they're probably about the same. But I really believe that whatever product I went into, I wanted it to be also doing some good in the world as well.
Yeah.
So, but I don't regret it, because now I think, I think what you're looking into, you also have to think about the trends in the market and what are people looking to buy and things like that as well. So you can use things like helium-10, but sometimes I think you also have to think from a consumer's point of view, what might actually be taking off soon as well. Yeah,
and you mentioned sort of, I suppose it's double-edged sword, swings and roundabouts. Although it might limit what you're looking at by wanting to make sure your product's environmentally friendly, when you do eventually find it, it is a USP, and it is something that it adds value for the consumer. If I'm purchasing something, if I've got an option between two, recently purchased or bought a puppy, and she's amazing, but she poos a lot, and we need to buy poo bags, and we choose to get the biodegradable ones, right? Even though they're more expensive, because it's it influences my decision, and it adds value in that respect. So yeah, that's great. And was when you actually started looking for your first product, did you? I mentioned this is what I went back to. Did you know what you were looking for, or did you just have some criteria and you found something? How did it actually work? Did you have an idea in your head that you wanted to launch a particular product?
I did have an idea, and also because if you look at the product that I've gone into, it does everyone's review count is a lot high. It's a lot higher.
Yeah.
So when I was
Carry on. No, I was interrupted. I'm just reminding myself to ask you about the review count. You carry on.
Yeah. So because there was another product that I was going to go into initially, but then COVID happened. So it was actually better for me not to go into that, because the shipping costs and the cost of sourcing the product had just gone up, which was fine, because everything happens for a reason, and I don't regret it, because I think what I went into now is what I really should have gone into, which I'm glad I did.
You're glad that you took. Yeah, you're glad that you waited and didn't rush.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I waited and I didn't rush.
And you mentioned reviews as well. You're competing with some pretty big listings for people. A lot of people say Amazon is oversaturated, and although some niches are, you're competing with listings with some of them with 1,000 or more reviews, and you're just starting from scratch competing with them.
I think sometimes when we can do product research, you can really think that you can really have like your product research hat on and just think about, okay, I want to sell on Amazon, or a business hat on, and you can just think about what's going to make me the most revenue, or how would I sell. But sometimes there might be a market that actually there's lots of sellers. There might be some Chinese sellers, a few UK sellers on there, but they're all selling like a type of thing. But I could see that what I wanted to sell in, I really felt like there was a gap in the market, and I felt like I think I could make this a lot better. And I always think if you're looking at something, you should think, if I was a consumer and if I put this product up on there, what would make me want to purchase this product against all these other products that have so many reviews? And I felt like I could definitely answer that question. And even now, if I look at my listing, I think I can understand why someone might want to purchase mine, even though I have less than 30 reviews.
Yeah.
Against people that have so many more reviews. And I spent a lot of time thinking and marketing and really like taking my time on my listing about what would really convert someone to buy my product.
Yeah, and I suppose that's what there's a lot of emphasis within the training about how, you know, things have changed. And, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, people were literally just creating a listing, putting minimal effort in, not doing any work around sort of adding value and differentiating, and they just launched, and it would do well, but things have changed, and you've got to really, you've got to look at it from a different angle, and exactly like what you've done. It just demonstrates that with the right strategy with a product, you can penetrate the market as a new seller with low reviews and compete with these you know, these monster sellers, 1,000 plus. That's huge, because it obviously does influence the decision. But the fact that you're doing it, how many sales is it a month? I know it's 10,200 or whatever, but how many units is it?
I think so far
about 500 roughly.
Yeah, just under.
Yeah, just under 500. Yeah, so they've been flying. And what margin wise, sales is one thing. You mentioned you're quite a healthy profit margin. What's your profit margin sitting at?
I have lowered my price literally by like £1 or £2. So
yeah,
it's not that much. But it's just under 40% with me lowering the price slightly. So it's quite a nice margin.
Yeah, that's good. So 4K on 10, and again, planning on using that to reinvest to grow the brand, to get more stock.
I've actually used all of it to reinvest. I've kept a bit aside, but because I'm already running out of stock, so I know that I need to have more stock, and I don't want to keep running out of stock each time. So I'd rather reinvest that at the moment until the point where I've built it up, and then it's going to be a nice conveyor belt. Yeah,
so you're not planning on, you know, going off to a desert island for a couple of months and just drinking cocktails. You've got your business hat on.
Yeah, because I'm in this for the long haul, so
yeah.
I really want to build a big brand, so that's why.
Yeah, and you know, everyone's got their different reasons, haven't they? But it isn't. Although you can make money quickly, you've got to have that approach and attitude towards it. That, you know, every pound that you take out is a pound that you could have reinvested and grown the business and expanded. And like you said, looking at it as a long-term business rather than just something that you're going to set up quickly is definitely the right way to do it. So yeah, I agree with you there. With product, carry on.
Also, those margins are based on that initial 1,000 units that I ordered. But I also know with my supplier, the more and more units that I'm going to order, the better price they're going to give me, the better shipping costs will be, and my profit margins will open up even more.
Yeah. And what was your initial investment in roughly? I mean, was it a big one? I mean, 1,000 orders is probably double what my average member would spend on their first product. You went all in. What was your spend roughly, give or take?
It was probably about £6,000, including shipping and everything.
Yeah. And again, that enables you to get more units, which you are going out of stock now shortly. So you're going to need more, as we spoke about. But a good problem to have. You know, people will often say to me, "What if they don't sell? I've got that problem." And there's lots of options you can sell on eBay and things like that. But typically people do sell. But the problem that people don't tend to worry about too much is before they start, what if I sell out? You know, no one worries about that, but it is a problem. It actually is a legitimate problem that you've got to try to plan for. And you place your order for more?
Yeah, so I've placed an order for 1,800 units this time.
Okay, and yeah, that'll be spread over those 3. And what would your tip for someone who's doing product research now? What would your best tip for that person be? if you've got a top tip.
I think going back to what I said before, whatever product you go into, if you can see why someone would pick your product over all the different products, or whatever, let's say, for example, I don't know, it's like a toothbrush, for example. If you could see what is so special about this, like a bamboo toothbrush, why would someone want to buy your bamboo toothbrush against all these other ones? Because sometimes there's things that you search on Amazon, and even for me, if I want to just buy something, I'd just be like, oh my god, there's so many of these that look exactly the same. I'm just going to go for the one that has the most reviews. But if you can see why someone would immediately just pick yours out and think, yeah, I'm going to look at that actually, at least click on it.
Yeah.
And then if you can convert them, then that's the advice I'd give. You have to really think as a consumer, why would someone really want to buy your product against all these other ones that are there already?
That's really, really good advice. And it's easy to overlook that, right, isn't it? Because when you're doing your product research and you've got, numbers in front of you, figures, you're trying to work out profit margins and how many sellers there are and the average reviews and the average sales, it's so easy to overlook one of the key points, which is why would someone buy your product over the competition? And that's where branding comes in, and obviously all of the work you did around that. That's really, really good advice. And with the brand then, you mentioned that it's something that you want to expand and move forward. Did you trademark before you launched? You did. You've already got your trademark.
Yeah, it's all trademarked. Yeah.
And how much did it cost you to get your trademark?
I think it was like 150 or 180.
It's not bad, is it? It's a reasonable amount. People think
not bad. I think if you know you're going to really build a brand, that's what your goal is. It would just make sense just to get it. That's what I think anyway. I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I was all in. So.
Yeah. That's my advice. 9 times out of 10 is that for something a smaller fee as that, £150. A lot of people will ask me, how much is it? Is it 1,000? Is it 2,000? One just assumes that it's going to be a lot to trademark something, but like you said, it's a relatively fast process. 2 months. Did you have anyone oppose it, or did it go straight through?
No one did oppose it, but they did send me a letter saying that part of my trademark was quite similar to someone else's, so they were like, we have to inform them first, and then they have like a period of time where they could reject it, but they were fine with it. No one said anything anyway. So.
And how long? How long was it from start to finish to get it?
Well, unfortunately, I was registering for mine during COVID time.
Oh,
so they did, as soon as I sent mine off, they did message me back saying that there's going to be a slight delay because people working from home. So it did take me, I think might have even taken me about 5 months to get my trademark to come through.
Okay, well, yeah, that would be about 2.5 times longer than you'd expect. Usually it's about 2 months. Yeah, usually about 2, but things have been, like you said, dragged out a little bit with COVID in lots of different areas. But no, it's a good move. You're protected now. You've got, if anyone tries to copy your listing with similar images with your brand name, because you're doing so well, you can have them removed pretty much instantly with the power that you've got. Also, with a trademark, have you utilized the A+ content, or is that something you're thinking about?
Yeah, I've done. That's also one of the main reasons why I wanted to get a trademark, because you can use all of Amazon's brand registry things if you have a trademark.
Yeah.
If you don't have a trademark, it's going to be pretty hard to do that. But it just makes your listing look so much nicer. And if you are there's going to be competition on Amazon anyway. So you want to do everything you can possibly do to make your listing the best as it possibly can be.
Absolutely. And like I said, it definitely makes your listing stand out when people look at it. It's an attractive way of showcasing your product, right? Not just within images. When people are scrolling down, for example, to get to the reviews, they come across, all of your imagery that you've got, your thumbnails, the work, the creative work that you've done. If anyone doesn't know what A+ content is, it's the content in the core of the listing as you're scrolling through. But it can increase conversions by, they say, up to 5%, which is a lot. That's a lot. Every 100 people, 5 extra people purchase just because of that. So more sales is a good thing. And moving, I suppose, towards when you were launching. And again, another question I get asked a lot is, how much money am I going to need to spend on PPC? For people who aren't familiar with PPC, your spend is taken out of your sales. So, at the end of your 2-week period, when you have your figure that comes to you to go into your bank, Amazon will deduct the PPC, so it essentially comes out of your profit margin. You don't actually pay extra for it. But what was your approach? You said you learned a lot about PPC, but did you use it?
I'm very lucky, actually. No, I never had to use any PPC.
It's bizarre, isn't it? It's a hard one to even to talk about, because what do you say? I mean, you just didn't use it.
I just didn't use it, but for me, I did. How we were talking about Bradley's and his podcast, there was one that I listened to, which is called, I think he called it the Maldives honeymoon or something like that. And because Bradley, that what he used to do before was just specialize in launching products for companies. I think that's what he used to do.
Yeah.
And I just happened to listen to one of them, and he was talking about how they did something called search and find, and that was where someone, let's say if you were going to get someone to purchase your product, like friends and family, just initially, just to help you get a few reviews. So the reason why I got friends and family, or friends of friends, to purchase the product initially, that was just so I could get reviews. But I did say, whilst you're doing it, and I think it was only with five friends or so, I says, when you're doing that, can you search this search term and keep going through the pages until you find mine? So I think that tells Amazon as well that this person has looked through all these pages, but they wanted this product here. That means this must be good, so let's move it up the ranking. And I thought, I've got nothing to lose, so I'll just try and do that anyway. And then it seemed to work to some extent. Well, I think it did anyway.
Well, it must
because
have.
that brought me right to the bottom of page 1. And then I remember how I was saying to you that then after that, there was just a couple of people, real people, that bought my product. And I was just like, oh my God, they've gone through all these people and they've clicked on mine. And then really slowly, organically, I think then after a space of like 10 days, I was near the top of page 1 organically. And I was already selling, and I did my maths, and I felt like if it continued like this on average, I think back then it was just 10 a day. And I thought, should I turn PPC on? And then I thought, I'm just going to see what happens for the next week. And then I started selling about 15. And I think the most I've sold in a day is probably about 27 in a day.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So then after that, I just felt like I'm just going to see how it goes. But I've never turned it on because I'm already running out of stock. I've got 3 ASINs, and I'm running out of stock of one of them in the next few days. So yeah, we'll see what happens with those two.
Yeah, and we said as well with PPC, if you need to be able to meet the demand, because with PPC you're going to get more sales, and if you can't keep up with the demand,
you can't handle it.
There's no point using it at this stage. No, and you can use it in the future, like you said, if you want to. You can you might have other keywords that you want to rank for, and you might use it for that purpose. But if things are going well without it, so if you're doing 5 figures a month in your first month without PPC, then you're doing something right. And like you said, that first point you mentioned, it's helping you index for those search terms, right? Because Amazon's algorithm's thinking, this person searched for this and they've instantly bought this, and they start to obviously move you up, and that's how ranking works. So did you have specific terms that you gave them? Did you know what you want? Yeah.
I mean, there was I just used a bit of logic, because I felt like, okay, this is the main search term, but it has over 10,000 search terms.
Yeah.
And there was some other ones which had about 500 search term, 1,000 search term, and I just felt like I have nothing to lose, so I just told them exactly what to type in, and then that's how they bought the product.
Yeah. Well,
and then it obviously helped with the main search term.
Yeah, and again, if you do decide to move over to PPC, you can just do that on a larger scale. Then you'll be choosing your search terms, you'll be sponsoring your product for them, and trying to do pretty much replicate that exact same process that you were doing naturally, but actually using their PPC platform. So the brand then, plans for the brand at the moment. I mean, you said you've got a job, a full-time job. You've got 2 kids. You're a busy lady. You've got lots going on in your life, and this is another thing now that you're juggling. How many hours are you doing a day at the moment with your FBA? How are you balancing with your work, with your family, and with the business? And what are your plans for the future with the brand?
Well, at the moment, in terms of just FBA, there isn't much to do. I mean, every now and then the customer might send you a question or something like that, so I might have to answer that back. But other than that, there's not really very much. If I had PPC, it would be a different story because I would be keeping an eye on that, and maybe every week or so I would set a bit of time aside just to make sure that's optimized and things like that. I've also set it up on Helium 10, so I've got automatic emails going out to all my customers requesting a review and things like that. But my goal with the brand is building it on the UK platform. Then when I have enough inventory, then I can start selling it across Europe as well. And then after that, we'll just see where it takes.
See how it goes. I suppose you don't want to plan too far ahead. You just go with the flow. You never know. I mean, you wouldn't have known that you were going to do Amazon FBA 3 years ago, and the same with now. You have an idea and you'll work towards a certain goal, but to an extent, you've got to let things just flow naturally, haven't you, and see how it goes. Would you think about launching on your own website or not?
I think any company, because Amazon has there's something special about Amazon, isn't it? Because the reason why I decided I really wanted to build a brand. I could have perhaps maybe even sold off of Amazon if I wanted to, but then the marketing and getting the traction of people to purchase your product. So, for example, you could do Instagram ads. People could see your ad, but you don't know if this person actually is looking and wanting to purchase your product. But for example, Amazon, the reason why it's so special is because when someone goes on Amazon, they're typing that in. They are looking for this specific product. So that's why I knew I really wanted to just, on Amazon, I felt like initially I wanted to start on Amazon because I just know that it's going to be able to convert a lot better. But at some point, I would like to be selling off of Amazon and on Amazon because I did actually set up my own website, and it's actually on Instagram that's growing a few followers at the moment as well.
Okay, so you're sort of building the brand in the background, and that Instagram account. If you did decide to do something off of Amazon in a year, you'd have a year's worth of stories and posts, and it's just thinking, you're being prudent, thinking about the future with it, and that's a good process. A lot of students do that, and it's good. It's a good thing to do right at the beginning because often you'll suddenly want to do it, and then you'll think, this is going to take me months and years potentially to grow, and the fact that you're getting that done early on is a good thing. I suppose one final question that I want to ask you, and just get your opinion on, really, just what do you think about it, and what was your experience with it? Now, a lot of people who watch this video will not take action, right? They may have been looking at Amazon FBA for months, for years, and they can't bring themselves to do it, right? Whether that's because they don't think they've got enough time, they think it's going to be too difficult. A lot of people just think it isn't real. You won't believe the amount of people who message me and just say, this is all BS, like it doesn't exist. And I don't know what to say to that. I just ignore those messages. But did you have any of those barriers when you started? And if you did, how did you get past them? Or were you convinced quite quickly?
Honestly, I didn't have any of those barriers because really, I think it all comes to what do you really have to lose?
Yeah. You'll regret.
Even.
Carry on.
Sorry, say that again?
No, you go.
I was just going to say that what do you really have to lose? Because even if you spent all this time putting into developing a product and speaking to suppliers, and really it'd just be your time and a bit of money. But even with all the money that I put into my inventory, at some point, if everything went wrong, you could just put it down to cost price and sell your product.
Yeah, and you'll sell it anyway. Yeah,
and that was always in the back of my head. I always felt like, wow, if everything really went completely pear-shaped, at least I could just put it down to cost price and sell it somewhere.
Yeah.
But I just felt like, but if it does work, how amazing would it be?
Exactly, and a lot of it, you in life, you'll regret the decisions you didn't make more than the ones that you did, especially with FBA. I'd be very surprised if you launched a product and it didn't go well and you had to sell off at cost price, that in 15 years you'd look back and think, I regret that so much. It was the worst thing that I ever did. Whereas if you compare that to not trying and then in 15 years been in a position where you still want to start an online business, and maybe you're seeing loads of other people do it, and you think, I was going to do that 15 years ago, but I didn't do it. Now that sounds like something that you're going to be kicking yourself for more than, like you said, trying and it not working. But it's one of those things, and you've got to have the right mindset for it. You've got to want it, and for different reasons. Like you said, a lot of it with you is time, the motivator, have free time.
Definitely time.
Yeah, it's a big one for a lot of people. It's not all about the monetary incentive. Basically, it's about the freedom. And if I look at, with what I did, when I started my Amazon FBA business, that was a decision. Investing a few thousand into that. I had to push myself to do that because I didn't have any money at the time. I'd come back from traveling 5 years ago. I didn't have a job. I had a degree but no job, and I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. But I thought, well, what the hell have I got to lose giving this a spin? And the same with everything. I quit my job then. A year later, still full Amazon FBA income. I hadn't started any of my YouTube stuff, and it's all just once you make a decision, a positive decision, another door opens, and then another door opens, and things get better. And as I think will happen with you, more products will pop up. I'm sure I'll be talking to you in, I don't know, a year's time, and you'll be here, you'll be doing that figure in a day probably, with the way that it's going at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on to the channel and sharing everything with us. And if we've missed anything, I'll do my best to comment, reply to comments below. Anything that pops up, I'll share it in the mastermind group so you can see it, because I'm sure you won't spend all your time going onto the video and looking at the comments. That's my job, so I'll be doing that. I'll let you know if there's anything that I can't answer. But thank you so much for coming on, and I will be speaking to you really soon.
Thank you.